I'm Danny, and this is the Scream Princess podcast. Hello there, everybody. I'm Danny, and you are watching the Scream Princess podcast, or possibly listening to the podcast if you're on Spotify, Apple Music, or Amazon Music. I'm here today with one of my friends and longtime collaborators, Kemal Yildirim. Now, I was going to introduce you as a DOP because I met you as a
Mm.
DOP, but you actually wear many hats. So actor, writer, producer, director, DOP,
Uh,
but
yeah, jack of all trades.
jack of all trades. And you've actually just off air saved my bacon. I record this on my phone. And I have a setup so it connects my phone to my laptop. So because the phone camera is better than a laptop camera or a webcam. And I just got a new phone. So you'd assume that the camera would be better than my old phone. And I was like, I'm blurry. I can't work out why I'm blurry. And Kamal saved the day by telling me about frames per second. I learned a thing.
Yeah, there you go. My only use for today.
Can you imagine though, if I hadn't had you on today and then I'd done like, I don't know, 10 more podcasts and I'd have been blurry for all 10 because I don't really think any other guests would have known what to do.
Well, they might have, but no one wants to see
Um,
Danny blurry, do they? They all want that HD.
I was thinking of my eyes going funny. Like I feel like I can generally see, but maybe it's these lashes. I've had the lashes on. I just had a nap in these lashes today and they've remained
I haven't got a clue what you're talking about. What have you done to your lashes?
stuck eyelashes on. Look.
Oh, right. Brilliant. I mean, my eyesight's so bad. I mean, I'm probably the a DOP with like really bad eyes. That's just comical, isn't it, really?
When did we actually meet? Because I think a long, 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 long time ago, you did send me a message about something on social media, and it was about a film you were going to do, and I don't think you ended up doing it. Is that the
Yeah.
one maybe that you still want to do? Um, but then we didn't meet for until a little while later, but I don't know which film we met on.
I can't actually remember. It's because it has been a good, what, 4 or 5 years, five?
Yeah, it's been a long time. I don't know whether we met at Horror on Sea or whether we met on set. Was it one of the Fausti films? Was it Burnt Flowers? I feel like we knew each other before
No,
Burnt Flowers, though.
before Burnt Flowers. I feel like we met. I feel like it was on a film set, but I can't remember whose.
Was it? It
It
would
could
have
have been
been
one
one
of
of
the
the
events.
kids' films. Would it have
Dark
been Video
Side.
Shop? Sorry?
Could have been Dark Side where we met properly.
It might have been actually
That's
Dark
where
Dark
I
Fest.
for the first time as well. So it could have been. I think we were speaking beforehand online,
Hmm.
but I think it was Dark Fest where we actually first properly met. Might have been.
Yeah.
Might. That was a very early Dark Fest, so it was a good 4 or 5 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah, it might have been. And then but I think quickly after that we ended up working together. So maybe it was that you met somebody there and it
Yeah.
all kind of
Yeah,
pulled.
but I can't actually remember the first one we worked on together. It probably might have been one of the video shops.
I'm trying to think what we've worked on because it all kind of blurs in. And I think because location wise, we all shoot a lot at in Romford at the
Yeah.
mall.
Yeah.
We shoot a lot in Essex. And it's like I don't know who I've worked with where, and it all kind of just
Things kind of blend into one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't remember whose film it was, but we've worked on yours. So I was
Yes, you
the
worked on mine, but that was kind of a long time after we'd done loads of other stuff. Like I feel like I knew you well before you came onto my films.
I shot you for the free shorts in video shop. You were all in all of mine, weren't you? That I shot because you were in the Gessen
Yes,
plug. Then you were in the Tom's one, all these burnt
yes,
children. You were in that one, and then obviously you were in Andrew's one.
yes. So.
Oh, and obviously you were the face of the video shop
I
anyway.
was
So,
in that one a lot. I've got the Video Shop 2 t-shirt on today actually.
oh,
So
wow, cool.
we're both repping our films
Well,
here.
here's a question for you, Danny, before you ask me any questions. Which video shop do you prefer? One or
Oh
two?
God. Um, I don't know. They're both very different.
They are, aren't they?
Um,
Extremely different.
I
Yeah.
mean, as an actress, I'd say the first one because I got to do so much and I got to play all of these really different characters.
Yeah.
So, from all of the segments, I think there was only one segment I wasn't in, and that was was it Red Lipped Moon?
Yeah, that was Sam
That.
Mason Bell's one.
And then,
Yeah.
I mean, I only snuck into Mary Whitehouse because they had like a little bit of me on a screen. So I was only like a little cameo in that one. But yeah, I got to do a lot in that one. So obviously I love that one. The second one, however, as a viewer, going into it, I was like, well, I don't really know what this one's about. So it's a little bit more exciting because I'm not in all of the segments. And
Yeah.
although saying that, people at Horror Onesie this year, they were like, are you in this one a lot? And I'm like, no, I don't think I'm really in this one very much at all. I just do the wraparound and that's it. And then when I was watching it, I'd forgotten how many extra little
Yeah.
bits I had done. So all of the fake adverts and I know we
Yeah.
did the wraparound, but there was also the hosting. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, actually, I am in it quite a lot. And I'd forgotten because I was speaking to one of the other actors, Sai Henti, and he said, oh, can you remember when we did that Italian bit? And I was like,
Yeah. I
no.
actually thought that was really funny, that trailer. I thought that
Well, I
trailer.
completely forgot about it. I was like, no, I don't. And I always forget what I've done once I've done it. But I was like, no, I didn't do an Italian bit. He was like, you did. And I'm like, oh, no, I didn't. That must have been somebody else. He's like, no, it's definitely you. And then when I watched it, I was like, oh, I did. So,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I feel like Video Shop, I found it different because obviously I only worked
yeah,
on a small bit, and it was so different from the other one. I think you're in it a lot because it's mostly focused on a video shop.
yeah.
So a lot of the emphasis is actually on the characters within the video shop, and obviously you're a big part of that, and they bring you back
Yeah.
to life, which I
Also,
thought,
remember, we were the first one hadn't been released when we started filming bits for the second one. So obviously, I don't know which bits are going in the first one and which bits are going in the second one. So,
yeah,
it was yeah, it was different. And obviously, I met Kyle on the second one as well. So I've got to say, the second one's obviously an important part of my life because had it not been for Video Shop 2,
we met the
I
lovely
might,
Kyle.
yeah, I might not have met him, and then I don't know what I'd have been doing now. I'd have been living up in the northeast, like with a
With
quite
no
quiet
friends.
life. I don't know what I'd have been doing. I'd have probably come back to London more.
Yeah, you probably would. So we've got Kyle to blame for keeping.
Yeah. No,
I
I'm trying to
told
get him to come to London. Trying to get him to go to London is a job of work. He doesn't like the idea of London at all. And I think a lot of people who are not from London don't like it. I mean, I'm not from London, but I lived there for a long time. But I
you.
think people are like, oh no, not London, especially Northerners.
Yeah,
They just don't, they like the, fresh air. They don't like the hustle and bustle of London. But there's so many things to do in London that are not shopping or not like, major busy things. He'll definitely, I'll bring him one day.
yeah. Well, you're gonna have to drag him to Horror on Sea. I mean, it's the
Yeah,
place
I
he is.
know. Do you know though? I don't think I've done any filming this year. So, well, I've done one film, which I don't think will necessarily be submitted to Horror on Sea, so I may not be in anything next year.
Oh my God, that would be a first.
That would be the first year for, well, since my first year at Horror on Sea, so I don't know, like 10 years.
Oh wow, wow.
Yeah.
That's really weird. So for the first time, I'm gonna have more films in it than you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, unless I may have to go to the director of this other film and say, look, you just need to submit it because otherwise I'll just be in nothing.
Yeah. How's Paul gonna sell tickets? And he's not in any films. How are we gonna sell tickets?
Well, they'll have to, I don't know. I don't know. You'll be there. People will want to come and see your films because you're going to have lots in.
Oh, I don't know if I don't think I'm much of a Paul compared to you, Danny. I don't think I'm putting in the punt is the way. Maybe 20 years ago I might have, but
No, I think, yeah, I mean, I haven't really got time now to do anything quickly either. So
yeah.
this might just be a quiet horror on sea year for me. I may still come down, we'll see. Or definitely for Romford anyway. One of them. I'm hoping to come down for Dark Fest. Maybe I'll bring him down for that and you know,
Yeah.
give him
Well,
a taster.
that's a great one because you've got celebrities there. There's a lot of Dark Fest. There's a lot going on, isn't there, at
Yeah,
Dark?
and he loves old horror films, so he'll be happy to
Oh,
kind of get
perfect.
out of the crowds and go and watch the films as well. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
while I'm doing my busy stuff, he can enjoy watching movies.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I
Yeah.
told you he's the keeper. I did say that to you, didn't I?
You did say that, yeah.
He's a lovely chap.
Yes,
Lovely.
he is. He is. So, well, how did you get there in the first place? How did you end up doing all of these different roles? Like, what did you start off as, and then how did you kind of progress into everything?
I started out as an actor. So
Right.
that's what I wanted to do originally when I was young. I started out as an actor. Yeah, so because my uncle was a writer and he started making his own short films,
Mm.
and he was making like low budget short films on a little handy cam, and I always had a kind of just a thing that I wanted to act, but I didn't really know how to get into it. So he just kind of stuck me in these films and said, look, here's these. And they were kind of like teen angst kind of dramas.
Right.
So I was this kind of rebellion, kind of James Dean type character in these films for him. And I ended up loving it, falling in love with acting. And then I went into studied acting for a little while. And that's how I started. And then I got a couple of quite big breaks. I got like a pilot for a TV show that didn't get picked up. So it was for a big channel, a really, really big
Oh.
channel, and it didn't get picked up. So that kind of broke my heart a little bit and kind of
Mm.
it made me feel quite insecure as an actor.
Yeah,
And
because I think we don't understand that this is like the norm.
yeah,
Like it's like for every audition an actor goes for, they say if you get 1 out of 100, you're lucky, which is kind of why I'm like, I can't be bothered. I'm not going to do 100 auditions and waste my time. And I wait for people to come to me now. But I've kind of got to that point where in like the little horror community, that's what happens. But yeah, it can be quite disheartening.
it's quite disheartening. And I was quite young and I wasn't really connected to the industry, so I didn't really know how
Mm.
it worked. When I had that, we did the pilot and it didn't get picked up. I thought, well, that's it. My career's over then. I'm not going to have an acting career. But I still wanted to act. So I went there behind the camera. My uncle went off and became a barrister and doing his other stuff, earning proper money. I then picked up the camera and then just started making films myself and then started to learn the art of cinematography and directing. The directing part for me is probably not my least favorite, but I feel like as a director, when you're working on a low budget, it's really, really difficult because it's so hard to get your vision across as a
Mm.
director. As a cinematographer, as long as you've got decent tools around you and you've got a little bit of time, and that's a bit of a joke on a low budget film because usually we don't. But, as long as you've got a little bit of time to do what you can do, then I feel like as a cinematographer, I can just create and it just allows me to kind of be really creative. So the cinematography side kind of took over a little bit for me.
Mm.
Don't get me wrong, I love directing, and if I've got the right script and the right cast, and I've got the time, because I'm a little bit, when it comes to direct, I'm a complete perfectionist. Like I want to have this vision, and I'm a little bit, I don't want to say militant with it, but I'm quite, I'm quite like, this is my vision, and I really want to get it right. But when it comes to cinematography, obviously it's not my responsibility. That's somebody else's responsibility. So I can then just sit back and be creative with the
Yeah.
cinema.
Do you find that it's hard to let go when you're like you're doing cinematography, someone's directing, but then you have an idea and it's like, oh, because I think
No,
that's the thing when people do all these different things, it's like
yeah, no, no, not at all, not at all,
just let them get on
not
with it.
for me. For me, film is collaborative. You have to be a collaborative person in order to work on films. This kind of whole tired trope of the cinematographer is an artist and he walks around going, no, it has to be this way, is bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. To work on film, you need to be collaborative. And my job as a cinematographer is to take the script, speak to the director if he's not the same person who's wrote the script,
Mm.
really bring out their vision of what they want to do. Of course, I have my own little inputs and I might have ideas and I might suggest them. But if the director has a specific vision for what he wants to do or what they want to do, she wants to do, it's totally up to them. And it's
Hmm.
my job as a cinematographer to make that happen. It's not my job to say to you, no, you're doing it wrong. You should be doing it this way. That's not my job, and it's cinematographers that do that. And I know I've spoke to quite a few directors that have come across this. There shouldn't be a battle between a cinematographer and director. The only battle that should be is a creative battle where you're trying to get the best out of what it is that you're doing in the script.
Hmm.
So for me, it's about collaboration. So I never ever sit there and go, oh, well, how are you directing that? Blah blah. It's got nothing to do with me. For me, directing is quite one one of these things where it's a very precarious job. So you're working with a lot of different factors to try and bring out a vision that's in your head, and you're trying to get everybody on the same page. And it's a difficult thing to do.
Hmm.
So why, as a cinematographer, will I then come in and add problems to that? What I want to do is tap into to what's going on in your head and try and bring that out onto the screen.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, let me flip it to you. You work with me as a cinematographer.
Yes.
yeah, and be brutally honest, was it easy or was it difficult?
Oh no, it's super easy. And I don't know how many of these podcasts you've listened to, but I've mentioned you a few times and said how like when you've come on to do cinematography for me, it's been on the shorts that I did for horoscopes, but I've also been acting like in Dragon, I wasn't in it as much, and originally I wasn't planning on being in it at all. But then, obviously, once I've got Judy Matheson in, I was like, oh, I'd really like to kind of be in a scene with her. So I kind of put myself in a little bit, and it was great because you understand. I mean, obviously, as a director, I'm not trained. Like my training has been from being an actress on set. I'm a trained actress, but I've been on set a lot of time. I watch directors. I've got you learn when you're on set, and that's how I think a lot of actors that turn director do learn that way. But to work with a cinematographer like you, who does also know how to direct and knows how to act, you understand the actor, you understand the director. But also, when I was like, right, I'm in this bit of the scene, and then I could completely trust you to understand my vision, but take over the directing. Because, of course, directing yourself, like, I know what I want myself to do and I can do it, but I can't see through the camera lens. So you can see if I'm doing what I want myself to do. Like I've told you what I want it to look like. Am I getting it right? And
Yeah,
yeah, it worked perfectly because like all of the bits that I was in, you took over like seamlessly. And then like once I was back, off screen, I could kind of pick up the reins again. And again with Hunger, I was in a lot. And that was
yeah,
really because I'd moved to the Northeast. So I'd left kind of my network behind in London. And I brought you up to do the film because I wanted to work with somebody that, I could trust to, do what I needed.
mm,
And I tried to cast locally because I thought I'm going to do something a little bit different rather than have the same faces, that we always see in all of the horror that we shoot down south. I was like, I'm going to try and cast locally. And it worked really well. It was a risk that paid off because everybody nailed it. But again, I was in it quite a lot. So you did have to take over quite a lot of the directing. And I kind of tell you what the look of the film I'm going for. Because with Dragon, I remember saying, oh, I want like a kind of like this lucid kind of opium dream. And then with Hunger, I wanted like it to be a little bit more like edgy and a bit more cool, like this rock band. And yeah, he smashed it.
yeah. Thank you.
So
Thank you
I
very much.
mean, obviously that we've talked about there's a feature that I want to do, and it's still like I'm still at a point where I need to have another look at the script. And I keep saying it, and obviously I'd love to bring you on for that, but
Yeah.
it's just one that's going to need a lot more budget, and so I think I'm going to need to work out exactly how I'm going to make that one happen.
Yeah, it's a brilliant script, Danny. You have to make that film. It's so
Yeah,
good.
whether I'm going to have to change some bits to make them easier, cheaper to shoot, or
Yeah, maybe.
it's
Maybe.
it is what it is. Like I didn't write it with budget in mind, do you know what I mean? Like I was having a conversation on a podcast yesterday and it was like, when you're writing, do you write with a location in mind or do you write with, because you work with the tools you have, especially in independent film. And this one I was like, well, I know it's not too many locations, but it's kind of a lot of cast. There's a lot of big scenes. So it's, it might have to be toned down slightly
Yeah.
to make it doable.
Yeah, I think, I mean that would be any advice that I would give to a young filmmaker who's got a script, and that work within your means,
Mm.
but at the same time, don't break your vision for what you want to do. Just kind
Yeah.
of, just
Well,
learn
it's the
to.
difference between being a writer and selling your script to somebody who's got all the budget they want that can do whatever they like with it. Or if you want to make it yourself, you might need to kind of, unless you can, obviously get all of the budget, but when you're starting out, it's a little bit harder. And especially, and if you're an independent film, your budgets are going to be limited.
Yeah,
You're not,
absolutely. I
you
found
know.
I found that because when I made my first big feature as by myself, when I made a film called Rose, that I had like a 25 grand budget. I was walking around like I had millions. It was such um, I mean, I had a lot more because what I managed to do, I actually had 25 grand cash, but what I managed to do is use a lot of people that I know. So
Mm,
in my local area, I managed to get locations for free or next to nothing.
mm,
I managed to shoot in like the market squares of my hometown. And so if you've got a lot of connections in the place that you're from, or where you've got friends and connections, that's a really good way to kind of use what you have available to put into
yeah.
your script. And that's what a lot of people do. And that's a really good way to make films is what you have available around you, use that.
Hmm.
way to kind of get your film made. But yeah, your script is a bit more complex than that
It's a little bit more complex
at the moment. At the
at
moment.
the moment. I'm going to revisit it. I'm going away this week, and then when I come back, I've got a little block before I go away again, and I'm like, right, that can actually be dedicated to that because I've literally caught up on everything else I need to do. So
Well, it's being recorded now, so you
it's
have
been
to do it.
recorded. Do you know, I do this though. I think for years I was like, yep, I'll finish Bad Moon Rising, I'll finish Bad Moon Rising. That took ages. It was stuck in edit. I got there though in the end. Got there in the
Yeah,
end. I do
exactly.
need to be a bit quicker about things.
Yeah.
It is true. So did you always love horror? Because I feel like, I don't know if you necessarily set out to just do horror or whether I always think of you as horror because we've worked together so much.
Yeah, I've kind of well, I've always loved horror as a kid. That was, there was two genres I absolutely loved. One was horror, one was martial arts. And because I was a martial artist in my younger days, I can't stretch that far anymore, but I used to be a martial artist, so I was massively into the martial arts action scene as well. So,
Right. You
and that was actually
Jean-Paul
the first
Van, is it? No, what was it?
Jean-Claude
Jean-Claude.
Van Damme.
Jean-Claude Van Damme, that was his name. I was mixing up with Jean-Paul Gaultier.
Yeah,
That
that's a brilliant mix. It's what the world needs.
he'd be super stylish and he smelled divine.
Yes, a bit of Van Damme. I liked Van Damme, but Bruce Lee really was my kind of
Right.
my. So I kind of grew up loving those films and loving horror films. But I didn't actually start out in those genres. I kind of started out more in the drama scene. And I think that still shows in the films that I make, because
Mm,
even the horror films I make have got much more of a kind of concentration on character and drama and the conflict that the character's going through, and the horror is just somehow embedded around that.
mm,
So yeah, I think it's still embedded in me that drama, because I came from an acting background,
mm.
and all actors want to do quite meaty drama roles,
Yeah.
really, and but sometimes we have to do the other kind of stuff to kind of draw us to the actual stuff we want to make or be in. So yeah, I didn't really start off in the horror genre. I just kind of fell into it really.
Mm,
And I think it's probably for me and once I have, I'm really happy I did, because
yeah.
for me, it's such a beautiful fan base, and people love horror fans absolutely and utterly love horror.
Hmm.
It's like no other genre. Okay, maybe sci-fi, you might get people that, it's a
Yeah.
big, it's
I
it's
feel like
it's
there's a crossover there, isn't there, with horror and sci-fi? Because some sci-fi kind of fits into the horror mold and vice versa.
massively. Yeah, but I think the horror audience is so receptive. So when you make a horror film and you show it to an audience, you will get instant feedback.
Mm.
They're not shy of telling you if they like it or if they don't like it. And I've been on the receiving end of both.
Yeah.
So no, but I love that. I love that because they're so passionate about the horror that they love, that they just want to talk about it, and they want to be involved in it, and they want to be around it. And in the UK, really, because our industry in the UK is a little bit fragmented and broken, and our film industry at the top end really should be embarrassed of itself the way it does not support independent film
Mm.
or talent from the UK. It handpicks certain people, brings them up, but the rest of us, are more like gutter people to them than anything else. So, this is, I won't rant for too long, but the UK used to
I
have
want to know names.
the UK used to have an amazing film industry where there was money plowed into filmmakers
Mm,
to make content, and it was easier to raise finance to make films. But and I'm talking 70s and 60s and 80s to a certain degree. I'm not going to get into the political side of it, but so that fell off, and now really the backbone of the UK industry is independent film. The
mm,
majority of films made in the UK are low budget to again, really low budget to kind of, I won't say mid budget because we don't really have that much money in the UK film industry, but we do. Majority of the film industry in the UK is propped up by independent film, and we don't get enough credit for that. Most of the jobs that actors are getting in this country, or technicians are getting, crew are getting, are from low budget to independent films,
mm.
and we don't get enough credit for it. And I don't know how even came onto this rant, Danny. So bring me
I
back on.
told you, you
Take
end
us
up
a,
going completely off topic. Like you start on one thing and it goes elsewhere. It happens. So
yeah.
what's your favorite subgenre of horror? Because we all know I'm a slasher fan, but I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
to dabble in doing other things, so it's like,
Yeah, well, to be honest, I'm a huge fan of every subgenre. I really like folk horror.
mm,
So that kind of peak period that we had in British cinema, where we had, the Blood on Satan's Claw, Witchfinder General,
oh, you're
Wicker Man.
going way back folk horror though, not like the modern,
Yeah, yeah,
like Midsummers
yeah.
and
Well, don't get me wrong, I love Midsummer. I absolutely love. I love Ari Aster. I think Ari Aster is an incredible filmmaker, and I know he polarizes the horror audience, but I kind
mm,
of like. I like people that polarize audiences. That's one of the reasons why I like Michael Fausti, because his films polarize people, and I like that about his work. But we'll talk about Fausti later on. But yeah, so I really like the folk horror genre. I think that's probably the one genre that I would like to try and break into a bit more
mm,
myself as a filmmaker, because I feel like I have the right sensibilities as a filmmaker to do that, because I'm more interested in, because for me folk horror taps into kind of something within the human psyche. So it's not necessarily, you're not running away from a bad guy that's trying to kill you, or
mhm.
you're not, it's more kind of horror of the community, and I quite like that aspect of folk horror. So yeah, I love folk horror, but I love slasher films. Like, I love slasher films. I got to work with Helen Udy, who was in My Bloody Valentine, like, which is again one of my favorite slashers.
Mhm.
That's up there with one of my favorite slashers. So I love the slasher genre. I love found footage as well. Found footage is another, little. I know it's the black sheep of the horror industry.
I think it's great when it's done well, but
Yeah.
for a while there, it's just like anyone was like, "Oh, I can do this. Like, let's go make a found footage film," and it was like,
But I find that that's the same with every single kind of film genre.
well, yeah, I suppose. But then I
How many
do feel
slashes
like
are how many
we get
slashes?
to that point because I like a good horror film, and I know there are some really low budget ones that are so bad that it's like, why did you make a film? And then
Oh
I've
yeah,
scrolled through Netflix for hours, and I've come across this one, and then I've wasted my time. So I tend to find it a bit of a struggle now to find films that I want to watch because it's like so saturated. And
I
I know,
agree.
like, we all make low budget films, but I like to think we make good ones.
Yeah, well, it's not for me to judge that. Let the audience. And sometimes they've told me I've made that a shite. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, it is difficult because the market is oversaturated now.
Mm,
Oversaturated. I think. And I'm not about gatekeeping. I don't, for me, anyone that wants to make a film is free to make a film, and please do. But also be aware that if it's shit, the audience are going to tell
yeah.
you.
Yeah. I mean, on the other hand, it's great that it is accessible now because anybody's got, access to a reasonable camera, even if they're using their iPhone. Like it's
Yeah,
not ideal, but it's doable. If
yeah,
you're shooting in 4K, it's like, for people who are like just trying, like kids that are like, I'm going to make a movie with my dolls. And it's like, they can have a go. It is
yeah.
great that the technology is there and the editing technology is there that people can tap into, for free these days. And it's not going to be the same quality as a film that's got the budget and the people with
That's
the
how
low
they learn.
budget.
That's how they develop. I mean, I was doing the same thing with a handycam and
Yeah.
editing up VHS player. So I absolutely believe that the technology should be available for people to use, and young people should be available, and people like us that are in the film industry should be passing it down.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why if I ever a young filmmaker comes up to me and goes, "Oh, I'm trying to make a film, will you help me?" I'll straight away help them. Because for me, it's about trying to pass it on to the next generation. Because how many years have I got left making films? 20, 25, before I'm too decrepit to do any more films. So, and it's going to be the next generation that carries that on. So for
Yeah.
me, I don't like this gatekeeping within the film industry, because there still is a massive amount of gatekeeping in the film
Yeah.
industry. When you get to a certain level, like I work, because I have a sideline thing where I work in corporate,
Mm-hmm.
like, do a lot of corporate cinematography and all that stuff. So I recently worked on a commercial for a really big brand, and the amount of people that had jobs there that would just happen to be related to the producer, or the line producer, or the whatever, that was just getting jobs there because they were related to someone, was
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous. Like, it was absolutely ridiculous when there's so many people that I've met that are independent filmmakers that are also trying to hustle and make money in the corporate world, can't get
Yeah.
jobs. And and the gatekeeping thing really, really, it that really, really annoys me about film, because we should be working as a collaborative unit. Because in the film industry in the UK, we don't have a massive, brilliant structure like we used to.
Mm.
But if we all, as an independent sector, work together to support one another, we could have an incredible film industry here.
Well, I think
Because
this is where things like Horror on Sea come into play because all of the people that go to Horror on Sea are film fans. A lot are also film makers that are film fans, but we all end up working with each other. And it's
yeah,
all because of like things like Horror on Sea where we all meet there. Like you've jumped onto many different projects for, other people. They've jumped onto yours.
yeah,
It's happened to me. So, some of the festivals I think are really good for putting people together.
absolutely. And I think it is horror festivals like Horror on Sea that really does, and in Romford as well, which is coming
Mm,
up. There's a couple in Wales like Rilla Thriller and all these guys that are trying to build something
yeah.
that is community led and very engaging with the filmmakers. So, fans can meet the filmmakers can meet an audience, and then you could, meet new filmmakers to potentially collaborate. And it does work. I mean, because that's how a lot of the jobs that I've got in the last
Yeah.
3 or 4 years have come about. It's not me applying for jobs with people, it's people coming up saying, oh, so and so said that you're really nice to work with. Can we collaborate on this? And that, and it's gone really, really well for me. And I'm really humbled that I've got to work on so many great films with a lot of really cool people.
Yeah. Well, we're out of time for part one, so I'm gonna see you back here very shortly in part two. Welcome back to the Screen Princess podcast. Welcome back to part two. How was your break?
It's good, needed. At my
Needed.
age, you do need a break in
Was
between.
it a new cup of tea?
Hmm. Yes, I
Very
do.
posh little china cups you've got there too.
Oh, yeah, that's the only cups I drink tea from. Is
Do
China cup.
you?
It's a little quirk I have. I do like a good Earl Grey tea, and it has to be in the China cup.
I love that. I don't actually like Earl Grey, but I love the fact that you're drinking out of a proper little cup. Do you have a saucer too?
I do have a saucer. It's
Mhm.
not with me now. I might end up throwing it because I'm quite handsy when I talk. So
I feel like I'm letting the Brits down here because I've got loads of tea sets. I've got like this thing where I really love old tea sets, but they just live in a cabinet and then I just drink out of a mug.
yeah, same. I love older. I've got a couple like hanging here and stuff. So I've got another ornate
Oh,
little.
that's really cute.
Yeah, I like tea sets and stuff. I'm a bit of a dick. I was going to say dickhead there. That's a bit Freudian, isn't it? No, I mean, I'm a bit of a dweeb like that. You know.
I love going to vintage shops, antique shops, and like charity shops and finding like hinge ends. And one of the main things I go straight for the books and crockery. So like because stuff that you can actually still use, because a lot of the vintage stuff is like, well, it's great, but it's just going to collect dust. Like I like things that I possibly could use. I love like vintage Pyrex in my kitchen. So if I'm making a shepherd's pie, it's coming out of a vintage Pyrex. And I love
Oh,
like, cups and saucers. I've got a really cute little pink set. So occasionally, if I get some scones and I'll do tea and scones and I'll use them. I've got another green set that Kyle actually bought me early on in our relationship. It was like the teapot, the sugar bowl, like the lot, and we haven't used it once.
that is a shame. You need to have a tea party.
Yeah, definitely. I need to have a tea party. It's because every time I go in a shop, I find new ones. He's like, you haven't even used the last one, and I'm like, oh, I'm not allowed to buy anymore.
Yeah. Well, it should be a rule. You got to use that one first before you buy a new one.
That's true. That's true. So if you hadn't come on this podcast, nobody would know that you drink your tea from a little china cup.
You're exposing all my secrets.
I am. I love it. I love finding out these little quirks. So what were your favorite TV programs and films growing up?
Oh, growing up. Obviously, as a kid in my era, I grew up watching a lot of American kind of TV shows and a lot of American kind of films. So I grew up watching a lot of horror films from Nightmare on Elm Street to, that kind of stuff. I grew up in that era, so I remember all the Nightmare on Elm Street films coming out, and I'd kind of run to the video shop to get them. But TV shows, man, I grew up. I can't. You stumped me on that one.
I stuck here. So I was thinking like even younger, like cartoons, because I was always very much Scooby-Doo and like Are You Afraid of the Dark? Oh no, that's not a cartoon. So I did always have like kind of horror or spooky influences in the things. Count Duckula. That's probably why I
Yeah,
became vegan. Count
yeah.
Duckula's fault.
So I really like Count Duckula as well. So that was a favourite of mine. So the what was that other one? The witch.
Got
So
back.
got back. Yeah, she
Got
scared the
bags.
shit out of me.
Yeah. I remember watching it, but like I know I watched it, but I can't really remember what it was all about. Like I mean I would have been really young
Yeah,
then.
you're a little bit younger than me, aren't you? So
I remember what she
quite
looks like, and I know I watched it, but I just don't remember like the premise of it
she
or anything.
scared the hell out of me. I used to watch this other one as well with this weird. It was like it's a kids show. And it was like this floating orange floating head with hands, and
Oh,
it used to be there to teach kids like stuff. But I just used to look at it petrified, going, "What the fuck is that
I
flying
don't
around?"
think I know that one.
Yeah. So again, I'm showing my age. I'm a bit older than you. I can't remember what it's called. Like my memory is getting bad. I'm one of these people. I know for a fact that I'm
You
getting
can't
Alzheimer's.
see, you've got no memory.
Hire me for your next film. Great advert for me. Brilliant.
Yeah. He can see enough.
I, I can see it. I can see it. I do it all gut instinct now anyway.
Yeah.
What
And
about
who would
you?
you say, like, what kind of influences do you have, like directors or producers or people that have influenced your
Question.
styles?
Yeah, as a director, I mean, I'm a big fan of Nicholas Roeg, who did Don't Look Now and being this big one and Walkabout and loads of these great films. Actually, that was Peter Weir. But yeah, so Nicholas Roeg's a big one. William Friedkin's a big one because The Exorcist is one of my favorite films. I also love his film Sorcerers as well. Um,
See, I didn't
I
watch The Exorcist until, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. And
I
I
really
think the levels of what's scary are obviously very different now. So I can see that, like, back then it would have been really terrifying. But for me, I was just, I was kind of laughing. I was like, this is what really scared people. But it is a cool film.
I went to the cinema when it was re-released back in the late 90s, and I sat there and it was mostly a younger audience.
Mm.
And I was still petrified of it. It still scared the shit out of me while I was watching it. But the audience there, all young people who were like laughing at it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what the f- laughing
So
at?
that was me. But I think you're coming from like a different mindset, I think,
Yeah.
completely.
See, religious horror has always scared me. And
Mhm.
I'm not a religious person at all. I'm not really a religious person at all. But religious horror somehow really gets under my skin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a big believer in ghosts. Like I hear me out. Like I love the idea of ghosts. Like I love the idea of the paranormal and I really want to believe it. I love ghost stories and I love like going to supposedly haunted places and telling the stories of these haunted places. But I haven't seen one and I haven't really had anything that's really made me go, oh, this is definitely haunted. And I've told the story here a few times of myself and Cheryl Neve when we were in a hotel because she was on the podcast a few weeks ago and a light basically came on when we were sleeping and she was terrified and I was just like it was like faulty electricity or something. um like I need something that really proves it to me. However, ghostly haunty films, paranormal films really get me.
Yeah.
Like I'll be literally on the edge of my seat because of I think it's the suspense, the music, and I know that something's going to make me jump and and it's creepy. And even though I don't necessarily believe in, real ghosts, I find them really creepy.
So that's weird because I actually really do believe in ghosts, and it's because I think I've seen one. I've had two experiences myself where we moved in. Well, I was just married a few years, and we've had my firstborn, my son. He was only a little baby, and we moved into this new house, and it was quite an old house that we moved into, and it was quite a big one. And me and my son were home alone, and my wife was at work, and um, I heard the front door open, and at that time, because we were going to turn the bottom half into a business,
Mhm.
we were living upstairs in the top part of the house, and I heard the front door open, close, and someone walk up the stairs with very heavy steps. And my son, who was sleeping on my lap, he kind of woke up, thought it was his mum, and was looking at the stairs. And we heard the footsteps come all the way to the top of the stairs, and then nothing. There was nothing there. No one come forward, and we had a direct view of the stairs of where we were sat. And no, so we were both sat there looking, waiting for my wife. I called out, and I took him. We went looking, and couldn't see anything. Nothing there. So that to me was like a really like, what could that? Because it was only us in the house. It was
Mm.
just two of us. It was my own house. My wife was at work working, so there was nothing else there. And it was definitely footsteps that come up those stairs. And another time in the same house, me and my wife were washing up, doing our usual stuff, and I was talking to her. By this point, as husband and wife do, she's probably ignored me and carried off. She's went off upstairs. She's went off upstairs while I'm still nattering away.
It's the other way around. The men do the ignoring.
Well, yeah, it must be the other way. I must have a feminine. Danny. So I was washing up and I turned around and I saw these legs go past, and I'm still talking to my missus, thinking, and I'm still talking. She's not answering me, so I'm saying, "Why are you not answering me?" And I went around the corner to say, why are you not answering? This is, I'm asking her a question, and no one was there. So I kind of then went upstairs to her and said, "What? Was you just?" I said, "Why are you ignoring me?" She's like, "No, I've been up for about 15 minutes." So no one was there, and I saw a pair of legs walk past me and go
Have you
around.
ever done like a deep dive into the history of the house? Like who lived
Yeah,
there, who
well, we
died there?
did because I did do a couple of kind of documentaries, paranormal documentaries back in the day because I have been quite interested in the paranormal for quite a while because my mum was a big believer, is a big believer in ghosts and stuff. So I did do a couple of documentaries, and while we were doing that documentary, I did go into the town records of the house, and it used to be where there was a prison in North
Ah,
my hometown, and where that house was and the pub that was right next to it were a massive jail.
that's
It was
cool.
a massive jail and a kind of holding cell for prisoners. So is that something to do with it? And our house was right on that land, where that prison once was. So yeah, it could have been that. I don't know, but
Yeah,
I
no.
myself have a bit of a belief in the
I
supernatural.
love the idea of it. Like I say I'll believe, like I'm willing to, I want something to prove me, like, prove me a believer. I want something to happen. Not like while I'm home alone, like if there's any ghosts in here right now.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I live in a Victorian place, so Victorian build, so there could be ghosts. But yeah, not when I'm home alone, preferably, but I'm open to seeing.
You're open to an experience.
Yes, I like the idea of it. Like I love going, when you're in a new city, going on the ghost tours and learning like the haunted history of,
Yeah, yeah.
where you are.
But yeah, so again, we run off on a tangent. But yeah, I
You
do.
did.
My inspirations are huge. Like the director influences I have are massive. So I could give you a long list. But for me, the British industry of the 60s and 70s, like the TV,
Hmm.
so I'm massively influenced by the TV of the British industry of the 60s and the 70s. So TV programs like Children of the Stones and, you know, all these kind of Supernatural, another TV show that was around called Supernatural, which I saw much later on into my teens. I think I must have
Hmm.
saw it on a VHS or a pirate copy somewhere. And so I was very obsessed with that kind of stuff as a kid. And I don't know why. I don't know why that's always drawn to me. Because quite a few people have asked me that because I wasn't really in that. Because I was born in the late 70s, so I didn't
Right.
really grow up with that. But I became obsessed with that. And I think it must be because I used to have a TV in my room when I was quite young.
Did you? God,
Yeah, so yeah.
spoiled.
Oh yeah, massively, yeah, yeah.
Nobody had that like
Yeah,
years ago. Kids watching this now will be like, what, you didn't have a TV or an iPad or a phone? But
my,
yeah, none of
my
that.
dad was a bit like Arthur Daly was a bit of a jack the lad. So he would always have like my dad was in the pirate game
Right.
when it was a fixer. He'd always come home with videos and like, do you want to watch this? Do you want to watch that? There's a, you give me a list to go pick what you want to watch, and I'd literally pick everything that I shouldn't be watching on
And
that
he
list.
let you. That's really cool.
Yeah, and he let me. Yeah, he didn't really give a shit about that. So yeah, so I kind of grew up watching this stuff in my bedroom when I was quite
Mm.
young, and it was the British stuff that really, really creeped me out the most. I feel like in Britain we have because we've got such a rich history as a country. Like in
Yeah.
America, they've got very short. Well, obviously
Yeah.
not that I'm talking the Western culture in
Yeah.
America. Obviously, the Native Americans have got a huge culture that dates back longer than we're told. But in England, I feel like we've got this kind of rich history and quite
Mm.
a maybe it's something to do with the weather and the land, but it's quite dark and mysterious, a lot of the
Yeah,
history.
I mean, we have a very grey. People think of England and they think it's grey and there's mist and there's fog and that's what people think. And it kind of is
Yeah.
like that a lot of the time.
Yeah, it is quite like that a lot of the
And a
time.
lot of land, like especially when you've got a lot of green space and just kind of it's kind of spooky that there's nothing there in a lot of it.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's always creeped me out. And I feel like that's the kind of films that really stick with me.
Yeah.
A film that
I
I
actually
really love.
had cousins came over from Canada and we'd gone to the Tower of London. She's like, I just can't believe this building's just here in the middle. And like living in London, that I could easily go past that on a cab on my way to a night out. Like it was, a regular, I was only down the road from the Tower of London anyway, but it was like, I can't believe how this building, it's just here in the middle of like a city and it's like this many hundreds of years old. She's like, Canada's not even that old. We're like 100 years old or something. And I'm like, that's really bizarre that you don't have buildings that are over, 200 years old or whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I
yeah.
think you take it for granted, especially like when you walk around London, I always think you need to look up as well, because when you're at like, your height, it's all like shop fascias, but you look
Exactly.
up and you realize these incredible architecture, like all these carvings and just amazing buildings, like there's loads of history.
Yeah, so that I mean that's where most of it because I'm one of these dorks where I'll go on walk like if there's like a walk that kind of shows you the history of a town, I'm there.
Yeah,
I love that kind of stuff. I really love that.
yeah,
The history and in the UK we kind of have a very rich history of buildings with a lot of stuff that's happened, but land that's happened and wars
yeah,
and like everywhere else. But I just something about the British films of that era just really stick with me, and I absolutely love them. And
yeah.
I
I've
tried
just
to
been watching
remake
all the
them.
old Hammer stuff because I
Yeah,
didn't watch it growing up. Like, I'm sure my dad would have seen them, but he didn't really watch them in the house. Like, I didn't really get to watch horror. So I've just been kind of making my way through the Hammer box sets and like I've gotten
but
into like because to start with it was a bit weird because you're watching like the way people made films are so different compared to now. Like it's a lot more naturalistic now, whereas like it was a lot more theatrical because obviously actors had
yeah,
come from stage.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I think once you've watched a couple and you're in that zone, now I'm watching them and I'm loving them.
Yeah, they are fantastic. The old Hammer, the Draculas and the Frankensteins,
Mm,
and just all of those films. I mean, and from a cinematography point of view as well, they're very different from the way we shoot now because they are
mm.
very set piecey.
Yeah,
It feels quite theatrical in the way that you're viewing it. But looking back at it, I quite like that. There's something quite because most of it was shot on sound stages and at
yeah,
Grey Studio and all the rest of it. So that's why it has that feel. But yeah, I quite like it, and I feel
yeah.
like it could probably make a resurgence if we had kind of areas to
I
shoot
know
them.
that would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it
I
would
feel
be.
like I'd have fitted in then. Like I
Oh,
feel like
you would
I'm
have been
from the
an
wrong era.
yeah, you would have been an absolute superstar back then, Danny.
So out of all your films, what's your favorite that you've done?
Oh man, that's interesting. Of my own
Yes.
or one I've worked on.
Well, both. Tell me about your good experiences.
Okay, so of my own films that I've made, the my best film I feel like that is kind of encapsulates me as a filmmaker is probably a film called Wastelands. And that's kind of like a psychological drama, which is really about a girl with mental health issues that's trying to kind of navigate a world of her own mind. And the film is basically told through her eyes, 100% through her eyes. So you don't really know what's happening if anything that's actually happening is real or it's in her
Mm,
head. So and that's kind of inspired by a British film from the 70s called Symptoms, which again it stars Angela Pleasance, Donald Pleasance's daughter. And that's just a really, really great example of how my films are really, really influenced from that kind of period. So I'd say that's probably my favorite. And I had the most fun working on it as well because although it was a really tense shoot because it was quite a kind of, quite a mentally draining film for the actress to shoot, but also probably for an audience to watch.
mm,
But it was really fun behind the scenes shooting it. And I feel like that's when you're making films like that, keeping a kind of fun atmosphere is probably because we'd get drunk after shooting so many really, really awful scenes and drama scenes and crying and all this stuff. We'd go and get drunk in the night to kind of get over it. So we ended up having parties afterwards and stuff. And it was working with really close people that I really loved and stuff. So yeah, so that was a great experience to work on. And I feel like that's the best of my own ability. But also, I feel like my first film, Rose, is quite good as well because it was a big film to take with really big subject matter.
mm.
And, and I feel like I did quite well considering if there's because there's a 2.5 hour documentary on the making of that film, and you can see me slowly dying as the film is being made, and so that was a really really good learning curve for me, and I learned how to not make a film, but at the same time I'm
Yeah.
really proud of the film I
I
made.
think
And
that's like the main thing from like people's early
yeah,
projects. It's like, well, I learned what not to do next time. But you do learn a lot and you're always proud of it. And whether it
yeah,
turns out exactly how you wanted or like, you'll always take like good bits from it and it's a massive learning curve. I think your first film that you do as a director or as a producer or a writer or whatever, like, and you're on that set for that period of time, you learn so much more than you could learn in any school or training.
absolutely. I always say that was my film school. I learned so much more making that film than anything
Mm.
else. I also learned how to not treat people like shit,
Yeah.
because there were times where I was pushing people to breaking point, and I'd be like, why are you at breaking point?" Because I was so tunnel vision and
Yeah.
obsessed with what I was doing. And I feel like a lot of us filmmakers are maybe on the spectrum at some point, so we don't really kind of, what we are. A lot of us are kind of either ADHD or somewhere on the spectrum, because creativity and those kind of issues kind of go hand in hand sometimes. And sometimes you get so tunneled vision in what you're doing, you don't really see the people that
Mm.
you with. And I was pushing people to breaking point, and I realized that's really not the way to make films, because
Yeah. I think like now that you've done all of the roles, like you've directed, you've acted, you've written, then you kind of start seeing things from different point of views. You're like, all right, well, as an actor, I understand it from the actor's point of view, or as an actor,
yeah,
I understand it from the director's point of view, and it kind of makes it a lot easier, I think, when you can do.
absolutely. And it's made me grow as a person, to be honest.
Yeah.
Film has made me grow as a human being, really, because when I first came into it, like most young men have, I had this big ego, and I thought, I was going to be the next fucking Brad Pitt or whatever. And I quickly realized that that weren't going to be the case. So I had to grow up very quickly, and film kind of taught me that, and all these different roles and the people that you meet.
Mm.
I feel quite privileged to have done most of the stuff that I've done, and the people that I've worked with, because they've all kind of inspired me in their own ways. And some of the films that I've worked on have
Yeah.
been kind of have been fantastic for
How do you
me.
find directing yourself? Like, obviously, because I know you've DOP'd before, and then you've been in the scene, and then so you're kind of doing or DOPing, and like you're also acting, or you're directing and you're also acting. Like, how
Nightmare,
do you?
fucking nightmare, Danny. It's a nightmare. Directing yourself is really, really difficult. I don't
Well,
know
it
how.
is when you don't have a Kamal on the camera who can like take over.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, having a crew behind you to be able to then do what you want helps that. But at times, I haven't had that, and I wouldn't recommend it.
Mm.
And that's why I've kind of realized that when I make my own films, I don't want to act in them.
Yeah.
Wasteland is probably the last film that I'm going to direct and have a big role in,
Hmm.
because I'm in Wasteland, I'm also one of the leads in it. And I'll never do that again, because it's just too difficult, because it's really hard to judge your own performance. How
Yeah.
do you judge whether that performance is right with a real critical eye? It's really,
Mm.
so I kept going looking at it, going, no, that's not good enough. Let's do it again. But really, when I went to the edit, I realized that the earlier stuff was actually better. And it
Right.
was my insecurities that was pushing me to go. So it's hard as an actor to direct yourself, I believe,
Mm.
unless you have a team around you that can tell you the
Yeah.
truth, and
No.
push you in the right direction. But yeah, I mean, working as a cinematographer, I've had an incredible career working with some amazing people like yourself, and I'm not just saying that because you're here, but like working on the shorts that I've worked on with you has been fucking fun, and so just so easy. And as a
Yeah.
director,
Well, that's the thing,
you're
especially with Dragon. I thought, is this too easy? And I went home thinking, have we done everything we were supposed to do? Because I'm thinking, remember the day we were in the forest? We were in Epping Forest, and it was like the sun was out, and we finished ahead of schedule. And then I was just thinking, we can't have done everything. Like there must be something we haven't done. Like we can't have finished ahead of schedule. It was really easy. There was literally no drama. Nothing happened that needed fixing. And I was like, I went home panicking, thinking we're missing something.
it's like
But we
normal. It's
weren't.
like
We'd done everything. But
But
yeah.
that's about having the right team around you, isn't it, Danny? And really, it was you as a filmmaker. you're really organized because you know as an actor, even though you feel like you might not be organized, you are organized because you've been around the industry for so long. You know how film sets work, right? There's not
Mm.
many people that have been on as many film sets as you. You know how stuff works and how what is good and what is bad. And because you've experienced all of that, you can then take that onto your sets. Because the two films I worked with you were organized, well run, fun, and
Yeah. Well,
create.
always think that being in the film industry, like, it's not like you're not going into independent filmmaking um, because you have to. Like, it's not like, oh my God, I need to pay the bills. I must go into independent filmmaking because you're probably not going to pay any bills.
That's how you
You know,
feel.
it's not really like a money job, but you
No,
go into it because you want to. And like, so I feel like people are there because they want to be there. So you should be enjoying it. Like you should work hard because it's what you want to be doing. And if you're working hard, then I see no reason for people not to enjoy themselves. Like if you're not working hard, I'd crack the whip and
yeah,
it might not be as fun a set. But I do
yeah,
try very hard to kind of work with people. And that's why I work with people a lot that I've worked with before because I know that they're good on set. Like they'll turn up, they'll do the job,
yeah,
like they'll know what they're supposed to be doing. I mean that's again with Hunger, we took a risk because I was working with actors I hadn't worked with before,
yeah,
but it it
yeah.
worked out really well.
Oh yeah,
But
no,
yeah, but I think you should be able to enjoy yourself. I mean, you don't want to make a movie and go, "Oh, I hated every minute of doing that."
yeah, absolutely. I mean, also I work a lot with Chow Handy and Michael Fausti,
Yeah,
the team, and those guys. I absolutely adore working with them because Michael's got a very strong vision for what he wants
yeah,
to do.
yeah. He's
Filmmaker.
like, there's definitely a style when you watch his stuff, like you go, that is a Fausti film.
That's a Fausti film, exactly. And he's got, he's an extremely intelligent man. He really
Mm.
knows what he wants as a director.
Hmm.
And he's also a brilliant actor as well, because I've actually cast him in the film that I'm making at the moment. So he's also a really good actor as well. Because I thought in Burnt Flowers, I thought he was phenomenal in Burnt
Hmm.
Flowers. So good in that, commanding in that kind of role. And he plays devious and kind of evil characters with ease.
Yeah.
And he's not like that in real life at all. He's so lovely in real life. So yeah,
He
working those.
looks a bit frightening though, doesn't he? He's got that look like to play those characters. If you don't know him, you'll be like, "Oh, mess with him."
Yeah, yeah. No, he's got a stern look about him. But yeah, so working with those guys, Lou and Michael, it's just it for me, it's effortless. And also
Mm.
as a creative, you feel valued when you work with them.
Yeah.
Because I have worked with some filmmakers where I've had a great time, I've really enjoyed it, but I didn't really feel valued as a filmmaker working with them, if that makes sense. It
Hmm.
was like you turned up, you did your thing, like, thank you very much, mate. See you later, bye. And then you just go off. Whereas with the Fausties, it feels like we're kind of building something together
Yeah.
and we're building towards something. And it's about finding your tribe, right? You're not going to have an instant bond with every single person you
Mm.
work with. You're not going to have that, um, that kind of chemistry and rapport. And I feel like I found that with the Fausties, and we seem to work well together. And Burnt Flowers for me was an exceptional shoot. I had
Yeah.
so much on that shoot, every single shoot. For them, it was a nightmare, I'm sure, producing it and making it. But for me, it was absolutely fun. And I had such
Yeah.
a great time working on it. And I've
Yeah. I
literally just,
keep saying to them, you have to come on the show, and I haven't been able to pin them down yet.
oh, so I've literally just finished the making of for that because they're going to be releasing that at the end of this year, I believe. I'm quite
Exciting.
sure. They're releasing it on Blu-ray and stuff. So that's going to be coming out. And I've just finished the making of for that, which you feature in quite a lot, Danny.
Do I? Yay.
So yeah, and again, that was such an amazing shoot. It's such a great cast.
And we
Yeah,
shot some of that at the same time as we were shooting Vergessen.
Essen,
They
yeah.
kind of crossed over because sometimes the locations are like, right, we'll shoot both of these, and it's like
Yeah,
you're shooting two
proper
different films
Roger,
on the same
proper
day.
Roger Corman style filmmaking where we're just
Yeah.
using sets everywhere.
Yeah. But it
Yeah,
makes
but
sense, doesn't it? It's like you've got the people here and you're on the location. Let's just shoot it.
yeah, let's just shoot it. Yeah, absolutely, and it worked. I mean, Vergessen was a great shoot as well, even though
Yeah,
that
I
what was
love Vergessen.
yeah,
That's
Vergessen.
probably my favorite segment. I know it is my favorite segment, I think, from the ones I did in Video Shop one. I mean, I loved all of them, but I just loved the character.
Yeah, kind of style of
I
it.
feel bad now that I've said that because other people are going to see that I've said
No, it's fine. People won't get annoyed if they do. It's your opinion, isn't it? And you're entitled to
it.
it.
No, I did love doing all of them, but like I just haven't, yeah, I really love Vergessen. I love how it is because it's so different to anything else I've done.
exactly. And that's kind of what I like working with Mike. That's another reason. So creatively, it fulfills me as well because
Mm,
Michael's films are polarizing because you, when you like people with horror, especially in the horror genre, and this is not necessarily a negative, but you have to make a certain type of horror film for it to be accepted as a horror film within the horror
mm,
community. And for me, the horror genre is one of these genres that's so malleable that you can make a film that is not the traditional style horror film, but it can be still considered a
mm.
horror film. And I think Michael does do that. I mean, I wouldn't out and out say Michael Fausti's films are horror, but
No,
there's definitely horrific elements in
they're
it. I mean,
psychological, aren't they, really?
yeah, they are. They're psychological, but psychological horror is a
Mm,
genre in horror. So, I feel like his films are polarizing because he tries to do things in his own way, and
mm.
you know, he, he has a voice. I believe he has a voice as a filmmaker, and it's really great to work with. And Chow Handy as well. He's
Yeah,
just the nicest human being you could ever meet.
he is.
He
He
just
is. I
is.
also need to get him on the show. I
You
do.
do, because he's great, and he is
He does a
somebody
lot
that.
of like historical stuff, which I love again, like, and I love like the idea of like costume, like taking you on this journey to your times that do no
Yeah.
longer exist.
Yeah, because I mean, I acted in his film
Mm.
House from the Great War, and that was the first time I'd met him. I'd never met him
Well,
before.
had you not met him before? Oh,
I
wow.
spoke online with him a couple of times and kind of begged him to be in his film, and he he kind of was
Oh,
like,
does that work then? I'll try that. It's so
well,
cool.
I just I look because I saw his film The Numbers,
Mm,
and I loved it. I was like, this has got style to it, and it's shot really well, and I really liked what he was trying to do with it.
mhm,
And kind of I messaged him online and we were chatting about films and we are kind of starting to circle around the same people. So I just said, look, I really want to work with you. I'd love to be in this film. And he didn't know. So he ended up, I think he asked Tom about me and then
mhm.
Tom gave a good review, saying, yeah, he's an all right dude. So he messaged me and goes, yeah, all right, read this character. I want you to play this character. And I turned up and I didn't realize what a great, I thought it was just going to be another low budget movie when you turn
Uh-huh.
up. And it was a low budget movie. It doesn't have much
Oh,
money, but
it's
then
great though.
we're shooting in these trenches that look like
Yeah,
World War trenches. I'm like, fucking wow, this is amazing. And when I saw the film, I couldn't believe how absolutely incredible the film,
it looks incredible. It does look
incredible. Yeah, the
incredible.
whole film is amazing. The cinematography by Dan, he's a cinematographer,
Mm,
amazing. As a cinematographer myself, I look at it and go, kudos, my friend, that was just beautiful work.
mm.
And the whole film is just wonderfully done by Andy, and anything that he does, I'd love to be involved with. And
Yeah.
got a couple of things for him, and I think we're gearing up to shoot his Vampire and Cripplegate. So I can't wait for that. I could literally can't wait. I haven't read the script yet because he's still kind of tweaking
Right.
it and
Hmm.
stuff. But he's told me the ideas of what he wants to do with it, and it's amazing. It's going to be amazing. So I can't
Well,
wait for that.
lastly, so running out of time,
Okay.
what have you got coming up?
So I've got quite a few. I'm currently in the middle of production of my own film, a film called Echoes of Him, which I've developed with Alexander Nathan Woods.
Mhm.
So he's an actor who's kind of developing his own scripts. So we've kind of started to collaborate on quite a few scripts. So we're in the middle of production on that, and that's kind of like a psychological ghost story about a kind of female private detective that gets sent on this journey to find this man who's been missing for 30 years. But then everything isn't as it seems. So it kind of
Mhm.
twists and turns into this kind of psychological game of cat and mouse. So that's really, really great. Like I'm probably my most funnest shoot I've worked on my own films. It's such a great creative project to work on. So I'm currently in the middle of that, which we're hoping to wrap by the end of this year. I've just wrapped on the Fausti's latest film, which I can't really say anything about. You know what Michael's
Yes,
like. If
they
I
are very
said,
secretive.
he'd have me
Very-
executed if I said it. So I can't say anything about that, but that hopefully will be
You probably
coming
shouldn't
out.
even say there was a film.
Yeah, yeah. There might be a film, there might not be a film. Yeah, and I've currently wrapped a film for Dean as well. Dean of the Dead,
Mhm.
the amazing guy Dean of the Dead is just so lovely,
Yes.
amazing. Started
Yeah,
working
we
with him.
did. I did a chili sauce challenge with him at
I
Romford.
did amazing.
Have you tried
Yes.
his sauces? They're incredible.
No,
I've got a cupboard
he
full of
keeps
them now, and
promising
they're
me
amazing.
he keeps promising me a care package and he
Oh, they're
hasn't given
so
me.
good.
Yeah,
So
so
good.
I'm gonna get some off him.
Like
So
not just hot, it's like the flavors are incredible. Like
wow.
I know like my Kyle's like, oh, I'm gonna order some for like everyone for Christmas because he loved them. And he can't even eat hot stuff and he's tried them and he's like, they're great.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah, so yeah, he's definitely going to give me some. I know that.
Mm.
So yeah, we've just shot Go to
You didn't
Hell.
get a video shot bottle?
Was there a video shot bottle?
Yes, the video shot Tales of Terror 2 bottle.
Oh damn! Why did I get one of them?
Ask Lau.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I'm not really involved that much in number two, so that's
Oh.
probably give me one.
Oh.
So now, if you watch this, where's my bottle? Yeah, so there's a few things. There's a couple of other projects in the pipeline that I'm kind of connected to, but I can't really announce yet because they haven't announced it, and I
Yeah,
don't want it done before they do. But it's looking good. Like next year's looking good. Horror on Sea. I think I'm going to have maybe 3 or 4 films in there, maybe more. I've just acted in a film. I have to mention this quickly before you cut me off. I've just acted in a film, probably the best script that I've had in a long time.
right.
Uh, for, for Bad Sancha and the White Raven crew.
Oh, cool.
Those guys in Kidderminster, they're amazing people in Kidderminster. So yeah, we finished we wrapped like a few months ago. It's probably one of my favorite acting roles I've had in the last 10 years. It's just incredible script about a guy that's trying to search for the killers of his daughter. And it
Right.
kind of mixed in the world of the Antichrist. So it's in the genre that I love and the genre that scares me,
Hmm.
the horror, religious horror kind of stuff. And that's going to be coming out, hopefully hitting Horror on Sea this year if it's selected. So please, Paul, please select it. Or whoever selects a Horror on Sea. So yes, I need to mention that because I don't do many acting roles anymore, but that film I'm really proud of.